Hi, everybody. Welcome. Come on in. Welcome to our panel. AI-empowered monetization, new content strategies for media companies. If that's the panel you're here to watch, you are in the right place. I am Sepi Motamedi. I lead our product and industry marketing for live media solutions at NVIDIA. And I'm going to get our panelists to also introduce themselves. Ken, perhaps we can start with you.
Sure. Hello, everyone. I'm Ken DeGennaro. I oversee our media operations technology at the NBA, our broadcast operations, broadcast engineering teams, as well as our digital platforms and statistical environments.
And I'm Andy Beach. I'm the Chief Technology Officer for Media and Entertainment at Microsoft. I work with customers like Ken on the new innovations and the fun ideas to help bring to life. I'm also looking after technical strategy with partners like NVIDIA and others in the space to make sure that we're working on the right problems for the industry.
Hi, everyone. I'm Rick Champagne. I'm the Director of Global Media and Entertainment Industry Marketing Strategy, and we work across live media, film, television, advertising, and game development. Looking forward to the discussion today.
Absolutely. And we have a lot to talk about. We're going to talk about monetization, as the title suggests. We're going to examine it through the lens of audiences, platforms, technologies. So we're going to get right into it. And I think a good place for us to start is Ken perhaps telling us what the NBA's approach and philosophy is towards monetization.
So we approach it from a fan perspective, right? Sort of it's very much our thought. What can we do to making sure that the fan has the content they want, the content they're interested in, right-sized and tailored to their device, their preferences, their previous consumption habits and patterns, right? We don't necessarily take the monetization spin on it to begin with. It's about driving that fan interest and fan engagement with our products and our games, to ensure that we're able to satisfy their NBA, hopes. Yep.
And, I can imagine, too, that fan engagement has really changed over the last few years in terms of platforms, as you talked about, the audiences themselves. What does that change look like?
So we've launched via our partnership with Microsoft a new and reimagined NBA app. We get across our app and social channels 25 billion video views, right, for this season, which has been a record for us, up 25% year over year. And ensuring that, we don't want repeatable videos. We want to make sure that we have them tailored to a particular user's interests in formats that they like. It's very social style now. We drive a lot of 16 or 9:16 video in order to support support the fans for what they're looking for. And the other thing we have to do is generate these packages at scale. We want to be first to market. We want to be sort of the first place people think about where they want to go when they want to consume NBA content.
Awesome. Andy, Rick, I'm curious from a technology perspective, how has technology evolved that is helping the NBA achieve some of these objectives?
Sure, I'll jump in. I think we've been close partners with them for 5 years now or so, and it's really been a process of both understanding their workflows, because you can have understandings of media workflows, but there's going to be subtle variations and unique elements, and where we can then bring the right tooling and the right pieces. There are times when you obviously would think everything needs to go to the cloud, but there's going to be a lot of desire to, in that immediacy, to connect edge into that as well, so that you're really working with the content the minute it's acquired, and you're wasting no amount of time. Then there's all of the AI elements that have become into place, and how can we use that to further speed up the process, not just the latency aspects of it, but how can we start doing work on it, transcribing, identifying potential highlights the moment that it's in the system before a human operator has even had a chance to start working with it and doing the logging. Instead of doing that work, they're picking up the logs that were created to then go tell the story that they need to do in reality to do the job.
Yeah, I mean, there's a number of technologies coming together that's making all of this possible today. And also, other factors like viewer expectations, that sort of thing, viewer engagement. But Really, when you have as much video traveling over the internet now, 80% of the internet's traffic is video. And there's bidirectional communication now. So we're able to collect data about where that video is, who's watching it, how they're watching it, when they're pausing it, when they're replaying, when they abandon their stick. And there's so many data points now. So first of all this video over the internet, all the data we're able to collect. And then you have technologies like generative AI coming online where you're now able to do something novel with that content, and also taking it a step further, recommender systems, which are AI based now, and then also things like speech and vision. It's all these technologies coming together that's enabling things that were never possible. And so really, I view AI as an additive technology, and how people should be thinking about it is how can we do something that's additive to what we're already doing today? How can we generate more revenue? And some of the examples Ken's already given are just perfect examples.
Definitely. Monetization needs a few things, right? It needs strategy, which it sounds like from the NBA's perspective, fan engagement is core to that strategy. It needs technology. It needs data. Can you talk a little bit about those pieces and what content providers need to consider as they put some of these plans together? And Rick, perhaps we can start with you and work our way down to hear from Ken about how you're building these pieces together.
Yeah, and from an NVIDIA and Azure point of view, Azure's done an amazing job, delivering these AI supercomputers with NVIDIA to the world. Anyone can have access to an AI supercomputer like the DGX Cloud from their web browser. And so there's so many capabilities that are possible. But we've also, worked with Azure to deliver these video AI systems like the L4 GPUs cloud. Microsoft's also done a lot around InfiniBand to really accelerate the entire ecosystem. NVIDIA is an accelerated computing company, and we really look at it from the point of view of it's not just about the hardware, it's also about all of the systems, networking, software, everything coming together to allow this acceleration. And just working with Azure, all of this has come together. We just continue to push the envelope.
I think then the challenge that we then have is making sure we're working with Ken and other customers, because all of that technology takes a lot of orchestration and it takes a lot of maintenance, and the maintenance and collaboration of that content needs to be kept in mind when you're producing live games that are going out, because you can't schedule an event around those areas. So it becomes this coordination point where we're not just collaborating around cool technology that's going to go power these moments. We're thinking about how they get operationalized with Ken and NBA, so that we're doing what's right by them and ensuring that they get the right experience that they're expecting out of the entire event.
And Andy, you touched on it. I mean, live is hard. Live sports are hard, right? There's no scrubbing and going back, right? You have that one opportunity, that high quality experience. One of the things we say often is less than 1% of our fan base will ever attend a game in person, right? We were such a global brand and we have such a large and diverse fan base. So few of them have the opportunity to go to a game. So one of the things we try and do is use AI to deliver an in-venue experience. So if you are watching a game during game breaks, we'll find ways to switch and keep in the arena so that you can see the on-court events and have people sort of feel the excitement of what it's like to be at an NBA. The other area where we use AI quite a bit is in and around the game itself. So this year we launched a skeletal tracking system with our partners at Sony Hawkeye, where we captured 29 points of player data in real time, sub-second latency. So there's a number of things we can do with that, right? There are 3D recreations and animations that we might be able to do off of that tracking set. Things we're looking for in the automated officiating space so that we can detect basketball events and protect potentially things like goaltending in real time. We're able to do that and impact the game. Then there's always our desire, the player and health and wellness space, right? To look for signals of a player fatigue, potential area for injury so that we're able to keep them healthy and keep them on the court, because our game is better when our stars are on.
Awesome. And so what has the impact of implementing these different technologies been for the NBA? What's the impact of that been on the fans? Have you been receiving feedback from them, like higher engagement? What are the results you've seen?
So absolutely higher engagement. I just mentioned your video views, substance up 25% year. Anecdotally, we understand what our fans are telling us, because it is that bi-directional relationship that we have beyond what the linear experience gives, right? Sort of that lean back, and we can identify how long people are watching, what their watch times are. We also have to cater to a very young fan base. More than half of our U.S. domestic fans are under the age of 35. So they're not only interested in just the game, but all the ancillary information around the game, all the sports culture and the player personalities. 4 of our players get over 2 billion social posts or social reads every year, right? That's a lot of engagement, not only with the brand itself, but with our stars, right? With our athletes. So really the reception has been fantastic, right? From our fans, just from a pure consumption engagement standpoint.
One of the things I'm struck by as you're describing that is the volume of data that you're getting back. And so how are you using this data, not just in terms of fan engagement, but, thinking through operational processes, strategizing? How are you using that? And I'm also curious to hear from Andy and Rick about how they're seeing it broadly across M&E being used.
Yeah. So, our partnership with Microsoft, we have, wonderful set of tools that we have access to. Handful of our operational folks are here in the crowd, right? And they sort of live and breathe sort of the access to those tools. One of the next things we really want to be able to do is use artificial intelligence to sort of give us more signals when there might be issues potentially happening within the infrastructure and within the services, so we could be a bit more proactive around corrective actions.
Yeah, and I think from the platform side, as part of that, I think with even beyond NBA, generally when we look at media workflows, there's a lot of data silos that exist where data is generated for a specific function, whether it's the storytelling, the supply chain management, the user experience, and QoS engagement. But there's a lot of value in connecting those data estates so that you can holistically see and ask questions around what does drop-off look like when there's performance issues in the tool chain. And that's super valuable in diagnosing problems faster and getting to that holistic in state. Long term, it also helps drive monetization, because you can start beginning to make modeling and ask yourself around what kinds of content and what forms of content are driving the highest engagement to help reinforce and reinform the types of productions that need to be focused on for future areas, or even rising stars that need broader attention in the stories that are being published out to those social sites.
Yeah, I mean, data is so important for making business decisions as well. So if you're a streaming service and your data is telling you that if your customers aren't watching 5 hours or less of content every month, they're 95% likely to cancel their subscription. However, if they're watching more than 15 hours of content every month, now they're 75% likely to keep the subscription. Well, now you have some information that can help you. Well, we have to keep our customers happy if they're going to keep their subscriptions. So now you're going to look at the type of content that's trending. So now you've got data telling you what kind of content would they like to watch. What kind of content do you want to use your recommender system to propose to them? So there are all kinds of data decisions that help you with your business. But, media conglomerates are also, large companies, and, there are all kinds of data insights they can use to make decisions. Everything from the legal department going through all of the contracts and saying, which ones have litigated successfully in the past? What were the clauses that were the most important to winning that case? There are cases like that, of course, but then just even data in general and the large volumes of it being able to speak to your data. So we've all tried ChatGPT. You type in a text prompt, it gives you something back. Well, what if you can just, instead of going through, waiting 2 weeks for a report to come back from, all the forms you had to fill in the company to just get the report, through your internal process, you could just talk to your data, and say, hey, what's trending on the website right now? And it'll come back, and you can say, well, can you give me a visual of, what are the areas on that particular web page that people are looking at? So just being able to talk to your data and get insights quicker and make decisions faster. So there are tons of ways to use data right now.
Wonderful. And so let's look to the future a bit. What are some of the fan experiences that you see for the future of NBA fans? And curious to know what kind of decisions, broadly speaking, I mean, you don't need to dive deep into your strategy, obviously, but broadly speaking, what are some of the decisions and considerations that you're going through today to build towards that?
So we feel as though this 3D tracking set that we have is really going to unlock quite a bit around storytelling in the game. We're doing some experimentation in dunk scores, right? All the different items that come into that, right? Our fans love those types of highlight plays, right? Can you rank and rate how awesome a dunk was? And there's also the thought of, we were speaking about it a little bit earlier, right? The 3D reconstruction and being able to put yourself within the scene of the game and actually experience the game from the point guard's eyes. Could you imagine sitting at, Chris Paul's point of view as we're breaking down a play, identifying where he's looking, and then making the right pass or making the right decision on how to score, right? Really bringing fans into the game. Eventually we like to see spatial video allow you to be directly put into the scene rather than a 3D reconstruction, but actually part of the game itself. That's all coming. Those are all areas we're investing in.
And looking more broadly at media and entertainment in general, what does fan engagement look like for you guys moving into the future?
Yeah, I think there's a lot more hyper-personalization, exactly the road that Ken has already started on. I think there's so much more, there's so much user data that you've got about what you watched, what informed that, even not just the objects themselves, but, did you drop out of something? Where did it lose you? And what was going on at that time? That might help inform the kinds of shows that are recommended or not recommended in other elements. I think there's also the third-party data, or the sort of the social, what's being talked about. Maybe something in a sporting scenario, maybe there's a nostalgic play that reminds everybody of something that happened last night. So suddenly it starts getting a lot of promotion. Maybe that becomes content that should become shareable. And so finding ways for the operators to be able to effectively and quickly go lift and hydrate those older clips that are reminiscent in a really quick time frame allows you to take advantage of that social impact and move on it to help reinforce the story that's out there. So I think those are elements that we're going to see come online, and because it's really AI at scale inside of a media operation.
Yeah, and just looking across the industry, there are so many new ways, hyper-personalization, to the point of today, right now, with Azure, you can have two NVIDIA H100 NVL GPUs, combining GPU memory, 188 gigabytes, holding a 75 billion parameter large language model. Microsoft and NVIDIA announced last month that they'd be supporting the Grace Blackwell platform, moving to trillions of parameters for large language models. When we get to that stage, we're talking about the ability to have many more languages with much more depth and nuance in each of those languages, just going to another level there. But then also thinking about the hyper-personalization to the point of, if I only have 20 minutes to work out today, maybe, I go down to my gym, I'm going to, turn on my television and just ask it, hey, can you propose a workout for me? I've only got 20 minutes based on everything I've been doing for the past couple of weeks. And it can come back and say, maybe you need to do your back and your calves. You haven't done those in a while. And hey, by the way, you probably need some cardio. Maybe do 10 minutes of cardio as part of your workout. And then it'll generate a video of the workout. Of course, using content. And if it was my favorite sports team that I want to take home and interact with them, maybe I can ask it to, of course, assuming all the right contracts are in place, and hey, can my favorite sports hero take me through the workout today? So that we're looking further into the future here, but hyper-personalization has so much potential for interaction with your favorite heroes, your superheroes, your sports league, whatever it is. So I think there's like an unlimited amount of potential future.
The other thing we think quite a bit is what is content creation now and who are publishers? Opening up our archive and our game highlights, and we're giving the raw materials to content creators. They have massive followings. They're very creative in their own right. They're aligned quite nicely with our brand and have a lot of interest with our brand. Why not give them the tools and the services and both their audience and our audience to be able to bring that content to fans and come up with something new and creative that we at the league might not think of because we've got a particular perspective or thought on how the storytelling should be told. One of the things we're working with Microsoft on is bring our archive to life, right? And all of our older content doesn't have quite this sort of rich, fresh metadata that we have in our more recent content. Using AI to identify and create that rich metadata and open that up to creators. So you can imagine during our off season when we're trying to retain fans within our experiences, allowing someone in the LA market to have access to all of Magic Johnson's assists and put together their version of the greatest Magic Johnson assists during the Lakers glory years, right? Now, those are the types of things we'd like to make available to our fans via tools, but it's all based on using artificial intelligence to unlock the content and provide those raw materials to the creator ecosystem.
I think there's a lot to be said for that nostalgia play. I think there's a lot of desire for, we're now coming to a point where we have such a rich media history that is out there that there's a strong desire to go revisit things from either our own past or even things from well before, but correlate to things of today. And it just can't, I think things like the work you're doing around the archive are going to drive that. And we're going to see more and more of that content that's currently just sort of sitting around, find a new life and find a new monetary opportunity.
And, aside from really taking advantage and leveraging archives, we talked a lot about fan engagement and hyper-personalization, but I do want for our audience to connect it back to monetization. And so what are the monetization opportunities that all of these efforts enable? And Andy, maybe we'll start with you this time.
Sure, absolutely. I think it comes back to what Ken said earlier, which was, tell stories that the fans want and the monetization will come. You're making the experience sticky, and then that will lead to either driving additional monetization through increased viewership. In many cases, it also leads to ability to drive sponsorship and advertising placements as well that weren't going to necessarily be there before. We're creating a rich volume of just more content in addition to leveraging that back catalog of content. And that all becomes sort of sponsorable. But if we're doing it in the right way, we're telling the meaningful stories, we're making it hyper-personalized so that it is meaningful to that individual versus something that's just packaged for North America, then suddenly they're gonna stay with it longer, and that leads to that increased monetization without having to charge more for the experience.
Rick?
Yeah, and just looking at content in general. So I use this app SoundHound all the time. I'm in going somewhere, I hear some music, I make it listen, it tells me what song it is, I click buy, and now I've just purchased the song. And similarly, we're watching television, and especially coming up to, where ads or product placement are, is happening inside of video content. You imagine you just, speaking to your remote or just say, hey, whatever device, what is that on the table there? And it tells you this is whatever product from so-and-so. Do you want to purchase it? Yes, please put that in my cart. So there are so many opportunities for monetizing content, with AI. Like I said, the potential is limitless.
Yes. We don't still quite yet have that, in the 90s, it was everybody wanted to buy Rachel's sweater. But now we have modern versions of that we want, but we still haven't quite connected the dots to that consumer media experience. But there's things that I know you guys are thinking about in that space that are going that direction.
Well, there's a lot of information we have in the scene of a game, right? Everything from the particular shoe a player is wearing to the team gear, to some of the signage throughout the venue, things we might be able to identify and promote. There's also different moments in a game that we call them leverage moments, the high leverage moments, right? There are higher monetization opportunities in the last 2 minutes of a tight game between two premium franchises than there are in a non-competitive game in early November, right? Those are all things that we want to make sure that we take advantage of, and it's sponsorship and advertising and driving our fans to the full game consumption, right? Sort of a lot of the storytelling we do in advance of the game, we're in our play-in tournament, about to get into our second season, which are the playoffs, is really the storytelling to drive engagement into the wonderful storylines that is a playoff series in the NBA playoffs. Sorry for the shameless plug.
No, I love it. This is what we're here for. Well, we just have a couple of minutes left, and I'd like to wrap on, final thoughts on what media companies, content producers can adopt from our conversations today to move their own fan engagement, monetization strategies forward. Ken, perhaps we'll start with you on this one.
So I'll come back to some of the first statements I made, or always consider, for us in the sports league, consider the fan, right? And what their hopes are, and making sure that you have them first, and all of the content, all the decisions you make are really fan driven. And then I think monetization comes secondarily, right? Sort of driving that engagement, driving that interest, driving the interaction with your brand. The more of that happens, the more impressions you have, the more sponsorship opportunities you have, and just the more the consumption will drive those opportunities for you.
I think going back to those content archives, a lot of people don't know what they have. They have an idea of what they have, but they don't actually know what's there. And so how can you actually know the value of it? So getting intelligent systems that allow you to better manage it overall are going to allow you to better monetize it rapidly without it becoming another exercise and another operational task that costs money.
Yeah, and I mean, last NAB, everyone was still trying to figure out what this whole AI thing was. And that this NAB, it's amazing to walk around because we're seeing like real use cases, people doing real work and planning their strategies around content monetization. And there's so many opportunities. I think really, for anyone here at NAB, this is the time. Go see the examples, start doing the planning, start building. And and we'll see you next NAB.
Absolutely. And on that note, I'm going to do my own shameless plug, Ken, which is that Microsoft and NVIDIA actually have an interactive monetization demonstration, also featuring Fremantle. And Andy, there's a challenge in play. Let's hear about it.
So when we designed Beat the Buzzer, it's not only a game you go over there and play, but there's actually missions in the game. And so there's QR codes, including a QR code for this mission. And watching this presentation is one of the missions you complete. You earn points by listening to us talk. And if you earn enough points in the demo app, we're actually giving away an Xbox at the end of the conference.
Fancy.
So go over and play the game, do the missions, win an Xbox.
Wonderful. Well, I'd love to thank our panelists for joining us today. Thank you to all of you for being with us, and enjoy the rest of NAB. Thank you so much.